Professor Darity. Let's talk about Jared Ball's great work on the idea of $1.2 trillion in buying power. And I'll add in my chime in as well.
So I think Jared Ball's big point is that consumption of resources that are used for consumption purposes are not necessarily things that are going to build wealth. But I want to talk about that $1.2 trillion figure.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some rough calculations. So say there's 40 million Black Americans. If we divide that $1.2 trillion figure by if we divide it by 40 million Black folks, we get a per capita income of about $30,000. Well, that's actually inconsistent with the best estimates of what Black American per capita income is. Black American per capita income is closer to $20,000. So if Black folks were actually executing $1.2 trillion in buying power, they would consistently have to be going $10,000 in debt each year. And we know that's not the case because we don't have enough wealth to be able to acquire that much indebtedness. So the $1.2 trillion is a mystical figure. It's the thing. Nielsen did not investigate how much income people actually have. They asked people about their purchases, and then they crafted an estimate that Black folks are spending approximately $1.2 trillion a year. And that's not correct. But the other thing that's interesting about that report is it talks about what Black folks actually spend on. And if you read it carefully, the spending seems quite sensible and reasonable. One thing that they say Black folks spend on at a much higher rate than others in the society is on vegetables. And so, I'm just sitting there reading this report, and the report, if you read it carefully, is actually saying that Black spending is sensible, but they overstate the amount of it that could be taking place.
Let me say this. You guys can go to page 18 on the report. It says the claim that Black America has roughly $1 trillion in buying power is popularly repeated mythology with no basis in sound economic logic or data. While the myth has a longer history, it is today largely propelled by misreading and poor interpretations of Nielsen surveys and marketing reports. That's courtesy of Jared Ball. Check his work out. Let me say this, Professor Darity. I looked into it too. You know the problem? We got 16 million workers, and we produced $1.2 trillion in buying power if we were to accept it on its face. Asians have 8 million workers and produced $1 trillion. Let me say that again. Asians have half the workers and produce just about the same amount of buying power. We're not buying big ticket items. We're not buying treadmills. We're not. The reality is that this isn't even a good metric when you compare it against other groups. And let's not even get into white folks, because I think that it was crazy. I think it was like 8 or 9 trillion or some crazy number